Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Buddhist Biohacker. This is episode 150 for this year, and it is the final episode of 2020 officially. And I have been so excited about today because we are going to be talking about 2021 predictions with four of my colleagues. And they are just all four incredible psychics, mediums, just wonderful women. So while everybody is joining in the live, I'm going to have each of us just sort of run through who we are, just for everybody who's new, and welcome in everybody. And we might have some internet going in and out. I can see we lost Marlena, but she'll be back. So my name is Lisa Gunshore. I am your host. I am the host of Buddhist Biohacker, and I'm a psychic medium. I'm multi-generational. It's on both my mom and dad's side of the family. At this point, the more we learn about our family, the more we learn that literally everybody was a psychic medium. So I don't even know what generation I am anymore. I used to say 5, but I think it's a lot more than that. So anyway, so that's who I am. And I'll hand it over to, let's go in a circle. Want to go Michelle, and we'll just kind of go Michelle, Delisa, Melissa, and hopefully Marlena will be back.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me, Lisa. I'm so excited to be here today with all of you lovely ladies. My name is Michelle Snelling. I am an intuitive medium, psychic, whatever we call it. I don't know. It changes sometimes. I'm also an aromatherapist. I have a line of custom created essential oil and salt products that I love. I've been doing this as long as I can remember. That I've known things, seen things, heard things, whatever, and have been doing this professionally for over a decade now, and so excited to be here today. And 150 episodes. Wow.
I know. And that's only the good ones I kept, by the way. I mean, there's others on the side. So welcome, Michelle, and we love you so much. And Delisa.
Yeah, I'm Delisa Hawking. I'm a 5th generation psychic medium. I'm the CEO of a company called Spirit and Spark that I started about 5 years ago, based in Las Vegas, but we connect people with spiritual and wellness practitioners. So it's been a lot of fun. I got to meet the lovely Lisa this year. She found me on YouTube, and here we are. And I've got my list together for 2021 predictions and what tarot card I feel the year is represented by. So we'll get into that in a little bit. So stay tuned. And drop us a comment and let us know, what's on your mind for 2021. It's gonna be exciting, and I can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say. I got my pen and my paper ready.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm happy to have you here. And Melissa.
Hello. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for including me in this, Lisa. I am so excited about it. My name is Melissa Devine, and I'm a psychic medium, 1st generation, by the way. And I love this work. I love what we're doing. I love connecting with people. And, I think what we're going to be doing today, myself definitely, but I think us as a collective, like, we're offering hope to all of the people that are going to be watching this today and going forward. So that's really what I want to say, just to start out with, is that's what I'm here to offer you all. And I'm sending out just so much love and gratitude to Lisa and the other ladies on this call, but also everybody that's going to be watching this video today and in the future. You are loved and you are supported by Spirit. I feel it so deeply in every fiber of my being, and I'm sure that's going to come forward in all of the predictions that we have for today. But again, thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. And Marlena, perfect timing. We're just sharing who we are before we jump in. We'll see if she's here. She might. There you are. Oh no, you're muted, Marlena.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm having a great day with the tech today. Awesome. So my name is Marlena Leonard. I am a tarot reader in the Bahamas, and I also do a lot of personal myth work because I'm a writer. So I believe that there's so much power in our personal stories and our collective stories, and I do feel like they are all connected. And so my predictions today are a mix of things that have come in through meditations, and then I pulled a year ahead spread just to get a bit more clarity and kind of nailing down, I got these messages, but where can I expect to see them this year? So yeah, that's kind of, I'm looking at it as a guide for when you're going through your story next year, how to make your decisions and really be that active hero for yourself, because knowing something's coming, you might not be able to stop it, but you might have a better way to roll with it, right? And I think that's really what I'm trying to help people with these predictions that I'm laying out today.
I love it. Well, welcome, ladies. I can feel like I've got the electricity. Like I can feel our energy in here. So I'm super excited. And hi to everybody who's watching Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, Apple TV. I see comments from everywhere, and YouTube, of course. If you have not yet subscribed to Buddhist Biohacker YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. We have so many great things, including my solar eclipse meditation will be out. It's uploading right now, so it'll be up on YouTube later today. So if you're subscribed, it will notify you when that happens. I would love for you guys and invite every single person, no matter what platform you're on, if you want to share where you're from. I love seeing where everybody's from. And just like Delisa said, share what's on your mind for this year. Like, what do you want to hear about? And gosh, I don't even know where to start, except that I think probably we should start with maybe the theme of the year. Like, what do you guys think is going on for 2021? Like, what came up for your themes? And whoever wants to dive in, like, we'll just be organic with all this.
Yeah, mine's kind of woo. So I'll share my tarot card that came up.
Do it.
I had 2021 represented as the Tower card. And so the Tower card for me, when I see that, is like, oh, wow, things are burning to the ground, but wait, I get to rebuild it how I want it.
Yeah.
So, and I hate to, sound so kind of dramatic out of the gate with this, but I do feel that will be an element of this year. I also wrote down transformation, life not being the same. We'll see 2020 as a turning point in our society, saying, oh yeah, before 2020, massive change. And how are you going to rebuild your tower? So I think 2021 is going to be a lot of the deconstruction, but huge possibility for transformation if you allow it. So that would be my overall theme.
Awesome.
Love it.
I'll go next. Is that okay?
Do it. Jump in.
So for me, 2020, I mean, it's hard not to think of 2020 and think of vision, right? 2020 vision. And, but for me, the whole year, the theme of the year was about getting clear vision about ourselves, about who we are, what we need, and really understanding us as the sacred beings that we are. Not just the humans here experiencing everything that we have this year, but, the spiritual sacred beings. And so moving into 2021, the theme that's been really coming up for me in a lot of meditations and card readings that I've been doing for myself and with my team, my spiritual team, it's about sovereignty. And to me, that goes right in line with that understanding that we're sacred. But, sovereignty to me means that we are free from outside rule. And that translates to me as knowing that our sense of safety, our sense of security, our sense of, protection comes from within. It's not something that we're going to get from outside. It's not going to come in the forms that we're all thinking it is, the things that a lot of people are really excited about right now. Those are not necessarily going to transpire to be the safety, security, protection that we think it is. And we just need to keep remembering that that comes from within us, that we're sovereign. We have that ability to be safe and secure and protected within ourselves. That we just have to remember that we're separate. We're not, we are part of the whole, but we are separate beings and free from all the stuff if we want to be. So I think it's just going to continue to be that like mindfulness of what do we need? What do we really want? How do we want to live? These are times that we have to make those really clear choices. So that's my theme for the year.
I love it. And I'm going to jump in because mine sort of piggybacks on that, which is the theme I pulled. So the tarot card I pulled for the year was the Page of Cups, which was really interesting and unique to me because it was also reversed. So the energy is sort of moving around is kind of how I view the reversed cards. And so it is about patience. I mean, that was the word that really came through for me for 2021 is we have to be patient with ourselves and with the process. This is not a transformation that's going to happen overnight. It's really a 12-year and beyond process. And so what I saw for this year is within that theme is we're really pushing through the knothole, and we're going to get really sick and tired of the dismantling and the corruption and the stress and the isolation and the changes. And it's at that moment you either can break down or break through. So having patience is going to help you a lot this year. And along with what you're talking about looking outside, I got a really strong message about 2021. Watch out for false news, false idols, false information, false messaging, false insight even. So really staying clear, removing interference, being patient with yourself, and really trusting yourself. We can no longer look outside of ourselves for anything. We have to look inside ourselves. And there's possibilities that we will have, or potential energy for us to have moments where we can't access outside information. And if that occurs, it's just a reminder we have to go within. So just like Michelle's saying, like, be patient, go within. And even Delisa with the Tower card, I mean, that's what this is. It's the collapse. And the collapse is not, 2020 was the collapse. 2020 was the lightning strike on the tower. We are like just now in the fire, I think. So that's what I have to say about that. And I'll leave it up to Marlena and Melissa to jump in.
Okay,
I'll jump in next.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
All right. Well, I actually, like, I have so much in common with what all of you ladies have been saying so far. And I want to say, I kind of want to piggyback a little bit on what Michelle was saying. For me, 2020 was a year of clarity. That was my theme of last year when I was tuning in at the beginning of the year. And obviously 2020 is about vision, right? It's about finally seeing the reality of things. It's about finally seeing what's really been going on that has, by the way, it's been going on for a really long time, but now we're just starting to see it. We're starting to appreciate it. And what that is ushering us into, that year of clarity, the theme that they're giving me, they just gave this to me this morning, as a matter of fact, as I was preparing for this phone call, is that 2021 is the year of the awakening, right? And that doesn't mean that this year is going to be comfortable. We're going to get into that in a little bit, of course. It doesn't mean that everything is going to be roses and butterflies and rainbows. But what it means is all of this benefit that we've received from that year of clarity, that we're finally putting the clothes on, that we're entering into this new phase where we can use that clarity. We can use that information that we've been privy to, and we can actually apply it to our lives. And I'm hearing it with my clients. They're making changes in their lives as a result of what they've experienced during this year of clarity. They're moving towards simplicity. They're moving towards, they're moving inward. They're moving into that phase of, I have an intuition and I'm going to use it. I'm not just going to rely on the outside world to inform me about what's going on, but I'm actually going to go within. And that's where that awakening is going to take place. It's a process, of course. It's not just happening like in the blink of an eye, but that's the beauty for me of what's happening in this year. It doesn't feel, there's going to be challenging bits, but it's not doom and gloom. It is an awakening. We're building, we're ascending. And anyway, so I just want to throw that out there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I want to throw it back to Marlena. Yeah, thank you.
So for me, like hearing what you guys have said, there have been quite a few things where I was getting the same messages. Like with Elisa saying that she pulled the tower for being the theme for next year. I've been having a couple of symbols that keep showing up for me. And of course, some of this is specific to, where I am, the symbols that I grew up with and what they mean to me. But I've been getting a lot of like caves and a lot of lighthouses. And the thing for me with both of those symbols, when I think of them anyway, very specifically, is that those are both things that in our history, when there's a storm or something and you're trying to get to somewhere where you can be safe, you're looking for the lighthouse so that you know where the harbor is. And then more specifically with one of our first settlements was a group of explorers who basically had to leave where they were from because of, I think it was religious differences or something. And they had to hide out in a cave on that island for a while. And so these symbols to me, it's more about kind of identifying those symbols for yourself and those areas of safety going into that. Not saying that it's going to be a complete trash fire and everything is going to end, but just making sure that you've identified where those things are for yourself. It's kind of like 2020 spins. Like if you ever used to take ballet classes or something and they're teaching you how to do the pirouettes and they're like, all right, you have to spot something on the wall or you're going to get dizzy and you're going to fall down, right? You need something in 2021 that is that spotting on the wall. That is that if you're in your boat and there's a storm and you're focusing too quickly on keeping the wheel straight instead of being like, no, keep your eye on the lighthouse and aim for the lighthouse. It's kind of that it's going to be very important for you to slow down and really identify what that grounding item is for yourself, because things are going to be moving very quickly. And it's not that it's impossible to come out of it, but you don't want to be frantic in trying to make your way through it. I think I've also been getting this idea that's kind of like a plane on the runway, where like 2020 was us on the runway. And I don't know if you've ever been on like a flight that was held up for a really long time. They're like, all right, well, air traffic is going to let us know when we can take off. And you're sitting there for, especially around the holidays, you can be sitting there for like an hour and they're just holding up your flight. They're holding up your flight. They're holding up your flight. And that was like 2020. And to me, 2021 is like, all right, you can take off now. And 2020 has been your chance to you're sitting on that plane and you're like, do I want to be on this flight? Is this the destination that I want to go to? And 2021 is like, all right, if you're buckled up because we're taking off now. So this is that kind of like last window to really solidify the direction that you're wanting to go in next year. Because the plane is going to take off soon and you can't just, once the wheels are off, honey, we're going. And again, it's kind of with my own symbolism. I'm not overly fond of flights. I fly a lot because we're on islands, right? So it's either that or the boat, and it makes more sense to fly. But it can be bumpy sometimes. But at the end of the day, it is the most efficient way to get there. And I think that's kind of what's going on with this, the timeline that we're in right now, is that it may seem kind of bumpy and that things are happening really quickly, but it's the most efficient way to get to where we're going right now. And you just kind of got to buckle up and trust the process and trust yourself and just be prepared, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, identifying your safety symbols and really making sure that you've created a kind of sanctuary space for yourself next year, because you might find yourself wanting to just lean back sometimes and, give yourself some space from the storm that may be going on outside. Yeah.
Man, I love that plane analogy. We were all nodding, so I know we were all like, yeah, that's so good. Oh my gosh. And I want to say hi. We've got Joan from Massachusetts, Lily from Houston, Elizabeth from Massachusetts, Eve from Vancouver, Burnett from Lafayette, Colorado. We have, let's see, folks from the UK, Windsor, Omaha, Nebraska. Just welcome everybody. Welcome on in. It looks like we got all sorts of great people. Hi from London, I see on here too. So thank you guys so much, and so many great comments on here. And where do you ladies want to go, man? We could go economy. I mean, I know we probably should go to January in this inauguration. I don't know who wants to say what about that, but maybe we should talk about that, because here's what I'll say about it is January, I do see protests, riots, some kind of outburst of violence. There's definitely, when I looked at each month individually, January jumped out to me as the most, the highest potential for violence and unrest and kind of outbursts of anger and energy. Now, I was looking at the planet. So there's obviously a lot of protests and rioting happening all across the planet right now based on what's happening. There's a lot of rioting in the UK. I know that for sure. But we also have this election here in the United States. So I don't know if you ladies want to say anything about that without us all being divisive, but I do think it's worth kind of sharing. January looks tough. Looks tough to me.
Yeah, I would agree. January does feel like it's going to be volatile. I was getting for, probably 2 or 3 months, continuous imagery of civil war. Mm-hmm. And so I know that there's some degree of fighting that is likely to occur. I'm not sold that it has to be a destiny point. It could be free will, depending on what people in the collective decide. I don't think the presidential election is over, which is probably not very popular to say. And I don't watch the news really. And so I catch, headlines here and there. And if you read what's happening, it sounds like, the election's over, Biden's going to be inaugurated. And I just don't see it. And so I'm not quite sure what I'm missing. But my downloads do not match up with Biden taking office next month. And so I think that there's going to be shock and awe associated with the election. And I think that what the masses believe is going to happen with Biden being inaugurated, I don't think that's going to occur, which leads me to believe that that's where the unrest and looting and fires and rioting and all that come into play. But that's what I get from it. But it hasn't really changed over the last few months. So I'm going to have to stick with that.
I want to throw in there that, for me, this has been growing towards just expecting the unexpected. And I think for part of the reason why it's really difficult for us to read into it is, number one, we're not supposed to know every intricate detail of it. But also it's we're kind of in these polar ends. Is this going to happen or is that going to happen? And what actually is going to come to fruition is not even anywhere in the middle of that spectrum. It's up here, right? It's out there. There's so much that we can't conceive of it because this is so new. My spirit people were telling me last night that what we're moving into is something, it's unprecedented. We haven't had this type of this energy started back during kind of the civil rights era, is what they were sharing with me 60 years ago, right? And that now this is something completely new that we're entering into. And so even as we're talking about political stuff, I kind of want to just throw a little wrench in it and just say, let's kind of open ourselves up to these really these uplifting possibilities of, maybe it's not this politician and this politician and so on and so forth. Maybe we finally kind of get our stuff together and we're oh, let's find a system that really works for us, and so I just want to throw that that hopefulness out there.
Can I piggyback on that? Because thank you, Melissa, and Delisa, yours too. I have to just say that, and Lisa, everything. I mean, I think that those of us that are tuned in are feeling the same things, essentially. It's the energy. But the one thing that I noticed with 2020, before we went to 2020, and in October, my birthday's in October, so October of 2019, I always sit in October and just kind of feel into my coming year, my rotation around the sun. And I really felt like I knew clearly things that were happening for me in 2020. My lesson in 2020 was I got the intuitive hits. They came to be not at all the way I thought they were going to, not at all the way I visioned them or felt them. And so my lesson this whole year has been, go ahead and have your intuitive hits, but hold them loosely. Be very neutral and be present for it, because that's the only way that it can really come to pass. And so with what Delisa was saying, I still feel the same thing that I have felt since last spring about the election. But what I've been reminded of is what Melissa said. I'm thinking it's this or this, but I'm not holding it loosely and allowing there to be other possibilities. So that's what I think my big message is for politics going into 2021 is we got to hold it loosely, people. You know what I mean? And we hold on for the ride. And I agree. January is going to be volatile, partly because I think that it's not going to be what people think. So many people I hear saying, I can't wait for 2020 to be over. Like, bring on 2021. And it's like, people, stop. Take a pause, take a breath, because if you think that we're leaving this to go into nirvana or
Brunch.
please, brunch, no. So, I think we've got to get some realness about it. Some real, we're the Tower card. I love that. We're just, it's just happening. We're not yet in the Phoenix stages, So thank you guys.
So for me, I didn't really look into much of US politics because I'm not in the US. And so that's just not really something that my energy is really far into, even though we're really close. We're like a half-hour flight away from you guys, so I should totally be more interested. But the energy that I was getting in January could still potentially be applied. And it was the Eight of Swords and the Star reversed, right? And so to explain that for anybody who's, not into tarot, I feel like January of 2021, even though we're going to scream Happy New Year, we're going to be like, so glad 2020 is over. So much of that 2020 energy is still going to be on us. And I feel like so many people are still going to be feeling very emotionally kind of restricted and bound and exhausted from what they just went through last year, that they're going to kind of carry that into January. And it's kind of going to be a little bit of an energetic sludge for a lot of people where, the bell strikes midnight and what, the whole world didn't turn into Narnia. It's still, we still have all this stuff going on. And I feel like, yes, that can leave people a little irritated because it's like a little bit of disillusionment because you thought everything was just going to sparkle away like Mr. Clean, I guess. But one of the things that I was getting when I was first, trying to meditate about 2021 was like, we have to get through the door first. Like we have to get into the room first. And then when I was pulling my cards to see what that could mean, for February, I got the Two of Wands, and on the Tower of Devine deck, it's represented by Janus, the god of doorways. And so I feel like we're really not going to get a clear, good idea of 2021 until we get into February. And I feel like January is really going to be a lot of and it would make sense if you're talking about people being upset about the election because their mind is still in 2020 in January. They're still hung up on last year. They haven't really moved forward from it yet. And January is going to be a lot of to clear the bindings off of ourselves to be able to move forward, backward, or at least from where you are. Just moving on at all, you have to be able to be like, all right, we're not there anymore. We need to move on. And I feel like January is going to be a lot of that sticky energy. That's what I'll call it, sticky.
Yep. I agree with all four of you, and some things I want to throw out there. I agree with Delisa that I have not seen the trajectory of Joe being the end all of this. And that there's a few different options, and some things for everybody to know that I find super fascinating is we are hitting the United States of America's Pluto return. And the last civilization to go through a Pluto return was Rome when it fell. And these massive civilizations, the United States is one of them, they fall. It's pretty hard for them to maintain through a Pluto return. In fact, there's no at least historical evidence of a civilization making it through their Pluto return. And back in May, Thomas Jefferson showed up. In fact, I can feel him right now too, even as I talk about this. So his presence has been very well known. Can you guys feel him? I mean, he's potent. And then the thing is, Thomas Jefferson showed up in May, and then in June, I had a lucid dream with George Washington. This is all very fascinating to me because why? Why are they showing up to me? I don't know. But here's what I can tell you. I've done some research. I've read some of their esoteric writings, and I sat this morning with Thomas Jefferson and I said, okay, what's your words for today? Because we're going to talk. They knew what they were doing. They being the founding fathers, they knew what they were doing astrologically when they did it. They knew that this was going to come. And there is a quote from Thomas Jefferson that's an actual quote in which he said there would be a revolution in a century and a half, which is literally a century and a half from now that he said that. So this is the make or break for the United States of America, in my opinion. We're either going to come through this united and rebirth ourselves, or we are going to become something else. And so that is fascinating to me. Now, between now and May of 2024, we are in this rebirthing process, or this astrological window that is based on the same energy from 1776 to 1780. And so when you think of this time period, astrologically speaking, the US is definitely having to look at itself. And what I got from TJ was that this is a reset back to what we are, which is liberty, justice, freedom. That is where we're going. We're resetting to that. So it doesn't really matter who the leader becomes in January of 2021. What matters is that that leader is responsible for being a catalyst to that change. And so I kind of think it's going to flip-flop where we're headed. And I looked this morning and I do think it's going to flip-flop. I'm not even going to say the name so we don't get in trouble here on the channel, but I do think it's going to flip-flop who is the leader. And I think it's going to be exactly what Michelle and Melissa were saying as far as a complete curveball. I don't think that how this is going to manifest is anything that any of us can predict. But I can tell you one thing, I don't think it's going the way that we're being told it's going. I agree with Delisa on that one. So we all are, saying the same thing, which is it's going to change. So don't expect to know the answer. And there's a lot of information out there about the ability to see the future, remote viewing, looking glass technology, all these different things. And those things are just proving to not be accurate anymore. So, and one thing I find really interesting about all of that, and to your point, Michelle, about, hanging loosely onto our visions, is it comes up for me in my cards for 2021 that there's a lot of psychic blocks happening in 2021. So there's a lot going on in the bigger picture that is keeping us from seeing the future. And part of that is the Saturn-Pluto conjunction on the solstice on December 21st, in which they move into Aquarius. This is the divine feminine, you guys. The divine feminine doesn't care where she's going. She's happy where she is. And we are going to be invited to do that. So there's my United States history. And then leaders across the planet too. I took a look at that because I know there's a lot of leadership stuff going on in the UK and in Australia and some other places. And what I saw and what I was told was pretty broad, but it was basically that the leaders on the planet will shift to the new divine feminine energy, whether it's a male or female, doesn't matter, but that they carry this energy of being able to collaborate, to build community, to connect. All of those, divine feminine qualities will have to be in the leadership going forward. And I do see a massive leadership change with the health organizations that we have for the planet, leading towards a different way of managing our health with healthcare and health systems. So that was long-winded, but anyways.
That is so interesting. I got goosebumps just now when you were talking about that, because one of the months in particular, I was pulling basically two cards for each month. It was like one was the energy and the other one was like, okay, but what's influencing it? What is it playing against? And for April, I pulled the High Priestess and the Magician. And so for you to be talking about, like the shift in leadership positions between divine feminine and how things have been done before, and like moving forward, things being very different, it just immediately gave me chills, because I was looking at them when they showed up together and I was like, what are you doing here like this? And I had the same thought as well with the health, system developments and kind of scientific discoveries, that we might be finding that you're learning more from what was hidden knowledge, and then taking that and being able to bring it forward and make something new out of it. And that we shouldn't necessarily be trying to create things from the same place that we were doing them before, but instead channeling that, beyond the veil, quieter, more divine feminine energy, and still bringing it forward, but not trying to manifest from the same place that we were manifesting in the past. And that was the energy that was there for April. So when you said that, I just thought that was really interesting, because when they showed up together, I was like, okay, hello, clearly you're saying something very loud. They want to be noticed. So I think maybe in April, that would be something to look out for.
Yeah, Lee Harris, I have to give him credit for this, for his December energy update. If any of you have watched it, it's definitely worth it. But he also talks about psychic information being disrupted or hard to grab a hold of. And I'll paraphrase a little bit of it, but he described the kind of wires being crossed, because you've got 3D, 4D, 5D, some are here, some are there, and we're all kind of just flowing between these different frequencies, and to really kind of not rely on what you may have just received in the past of strong psychic information. And then to piggyback on the healthcare note, I really have this very optimistic feeling for 2021 about discoveries. They specifically mentioned treatments being really progressed forward with Alzheimer's, cancers of various types, and HIV. And those were the three that they came forward with. But the energy of healthcare felt a lot lighter in 2021. So I'm glad, because I think people are going to take what they learned this year and pull it forward.
I'd like to add into, one of the things that I was picking up is that, like, what's happening right now with us as individuals is that, like, our DNA is being rewired. It's being rewritten. Like, even like our tissues and things are like different going through this transition. I can't quite, wrap my brain around that entirely either. But we're like, the way that we view things, the way that we think of things, the way that we react to things is also shifting. And it feels like there's such a deeper call for spirituality that's been coming for a really long time. But it feels like we're really realigning ourselves with things like love and compassion and peace. And for me, it feels like actually July comes up as a really powerful month for me, of where we start to kind of like see those things within all of our systems, whether that is healthcare, organized religion, political systems, even our workplaces and things like that. Like, all of that is shifting as a result of our DNA shifting. And so, like, everything is just, it's like, it's fresh and it's new. However, it feels to me like actually throughout the entirety of 2021 and beyond, that like the difficult part is we're sort of teetering between those two worlds. It's like we have one foot in this world and one foot in that world, and each time we take a step forward, we're in one or the other. And as a matter of fact, like, even as I was going through January, February, March, April, May, it was like one month is like, ooh, uplifting, and here we go, and then the next month is like, nothing's happening, just chill out in your bedroom and wait for the next month to come along, and so is really like we have to approach this with a level of compassion for ourselves. We are awakening spiritually. And I think, I always talk to my psychic students about these psychic awakenings or these psychic upgrades that we experience. They rewire our DNA regularly as psychics. And right now, it's not just the psychics that are working psychics and aware of their abilities that are experiencing these psychic awakenings, but it's also just, everyday people that don't recognize that they have intuition and that they have psychic abilities and that they have a connection to spirit. They're experiencing those really uncomfortable psychic upgrades as well. At least I can say that my psychic upgrades have been really uncomfortable, especially those really big ones where you just get like a huge download all at once. And we've been experiencing that all through 2020. And again, like I said, we're going to be kind of teetering back and forth between the old world and the new world for 2021 and going forward. Compassion, peace, love. And I know Michelle was talking about this earlier too, really going within ourselves. It's not about right now looking outward and finding those spiritual leaders or those political leaders or whatever that is. This is a time where we need, because of this rewiring, the answers are within us, right? This is kind of this is woo-woo stuff that's been out there forever. The answer has always been within you, my dear, right? And that's where we're going to start finding those answers, is really within ourselves.
I love it. I made a couple of notes here while you guys were talking. So Delisa, you were talking about the healthcare piece, and it reminded me that something I had seen was really an AI increase. And a lot of that has happened just due to the pandemic. If you go, there's a lot more self-checkout, right? There's a lot more things you can do yourself. And there's a lot of things that AI and robotic technology is actually doing. I had a client who had a surgery that was all robotic, right? So things are happening. And so I saw this propelling forward of AI next year. And I know some folks might be nervous about the negative agenda of that, but I've always been told that would be overcome by the positive piece over time. So I wouldn't panic about it, but I did see a lot of AI shifting and expanding and kind of propelling forward in this next year and beyond. And man, what's interesting, July. So July, Melissa, my cards also were July is huge celebration, massive opening, and then August is boom, it's nothing good had happened. But July is a profound month. Oh my gosh. So I saw that too. It's a super profound month in July, an opening, a celebration, some kind of big shift that's happening in the month of July that's propelling forward.
Look at Marlena.
No, because so for July, I got the Tower reversed in strength, right? So, we're all scared of change sometimes, but, crisis averted, you're going to be strong, be compassionate, everything is all good. And then for August, that was the one thing where I was perhaps we should save, I don't know if save money is the right word, or just be mindful about what you think is valuable, because it was the Four of Coins reversed and the Ace of Swords reversed. And so I was August looks so maybe it would be something, either some ideological issue or something political that kind of has some economic kick problems. And it's after this really strong July, it's August is, you just got to be a bit mindful of either your spending or how you trade with others, or what you hold valuable, because August is significant there. But I just think that was, when you said July is great and then August is Dude,
I'm looking at my photos, Marlena, and I also got the Four of Pentacles reversed in August. So something, and I made a note here in August about the financial piece too. So I don't know if you other ladies are picking up anything now or have any thoughts about that, but I got the exact same message as you, Marlena, for August, which is something, it's false celebration or something. It didn't even feel false. It felt like July was really good. And then August was like this weird collapse in energy. And it was financial in mine as well, like an economic issue.
Yeah, I don't think that July was, I don't think it was a false celebration. I think they're separate, but it's definitely something to be mindful of. And it doesn't look like it's something that's going to necessarily last very long. You know, it's like, and then the rest of the year, we're just all struggling and we're eating dirt, you know, like it doesn't look like it's that kind of situation, but it is something to be aware of in August. And that September, you're probably still going to be kind of mindful. I mean, you have the King of Pentacles who's back. So it's not abysmal, but you're still having to make practical decisions and be mindful of your choices. And we're not necessarily like, well, I have so much disposable income. It's 2021. We're traveling. You know, you might still have to be a little grounded with the financial decisions that you're making toward the end of the summer. Yeah.
Yeah, to piggyback on the money stuff. So part of what I wrote for this next year, money and banking systems will go through a change as financial institutions, unemployment, and home foreclosures go through difficulties. Currency, its worth, and how we use it begins to shift. Precious metals will continue to increase in value. In the future, bartering for goods and services will become standard practice.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of part of September and
August. Yeah, that would make sense, because like I said, there was also that, you know, Ace of Swords reversal. So that has to do with, like, you know, thought patterns and how we think of things. So the way we think of money changing. So yeah.
I would like to just kind of add to all of this, because in two ways. First thing is with the healthcare, what I keep feeling is that because of what's coming in 2021, and I don't know exactly what it is, so I don't want to say, you know, because I have some idea, but let me just say that the healthcare things that are coming, the medicines and things, may not be what everybody thinks. I'm just going to say that. So I think whatever fallout from that is going to lead people to that kind of sovereign idea that I was talking about, of going within and knowing that you can know for you and making decisions, which will change the healthcare system, because people won't be so running to get the answer. They'll be a little bit more self-aware. They'll be more trying to, you know, figure it out, tune in, find out, going to more natural solutions is what I feel also. That's going to really expand. And then I definitely feel the money changing, like our whole system of money, just what Delisa was saying, like the coins, like precious metals, things like that, the bartering, the whole system is going to change. What I keep feeling is, like, I keep feeling 3 to 5. So I feel like a lot of the changes that are going to be taking place, we're going to feel in 3 years. They're going to begin to really start changing. And then it's going to be about 5 before it's really solid and we're like, it's used on a large scale. Whatever we're going to be doing with the money, that's different. So that's what I just wanted to add to that.
I agree with you, Michelle, because that was also part of when I was getting all of those cave imagery. It was shortly after when, what was that? YouTube went down. Was that last month?
Yeah.
Time is so funny. Yeah. And it was shortly after that it's still like these opposing lighthouse and cave. And it was kind of that message that, you know, lighthouse, it's like this beacon of light shining the way, progress, you know, it's outward. And then with the cave, it was like, we're doing a lot of moving forward, but there are going to be things where it feels like we're moving back, and it's almost like you're starting over. So like, you know, when you think about people who lived in caves, you know, discovering fire, these kinds of like basic primal things, it's like we'll be rediscovering them, even though we are moving forward. It's not saying that we're just cosmic reset. I was definitely getting that feeling. So how you're saying that even though there'll be medical developments, people will be leaning more toward natural options as well. I totally see that both of those options are there in 2021 for sure. That's like that cave side, that proven in the past, and rediscovering, because there are certain things that we know that ancient cultures knew, but how did they know that? How were they able to build that so precisely? All of these kinds of questions that we ask ourselves. And I feel like the energy in 2021 is going to be like, this is how they did it, and getting a little more reconnected to not thinking that ancient equals stupid, that they didn't know anything. And, we were all buffoons and antibiotics, having some respect for ancient knowledge and that it'll be making a bit of a comeback.
Ooh, the aliens are coming.
Oh boy. Well, before I want to piggyback on currency before we get into aliens, but
I was just throwing that out there for fun.
oh, it's always aliens, isn't it? Isn't that the joke? So I looked at currency earlier this year and agree with all of you here that it's changing. And what I kept seeing was this rainbow dollar. And my interpretation at the beginning of the year was that the rainbow dollar represented like the money is going to change, the symbols, the colors, all those things. Well, I learned through just some synchronistic research that a gold-backed dollar is called a rainbow dollar. So it is possible that we're going to go to a gold-backed dollar. I want to be careful about how much I say live here, but I do think that it is possible that that is happening. And there's a lot going on with the banking systems on the planet that we are not paying attention to. So I'd like to say cautiously that the things going on in the United States right now are much based on what's happening in the financial institutions and less based on the actual machines that took the tallies. It'll be the way for me to say that. So just keep that in mind. I'm definitely seeing a little bit behind the scenes and I want to be cautious about what I say. But yeah, so I agree that currency is changing. Even on my own website, I'm taking precious metals and Bitcoin. And I saw that it was in the news that PayPal is now going to be taking Bitcoin and allowing you to pay in that kind of way. So we are definitely seeing that change. Obviously, a lot of us have seen out and about that there's a coin shortage and all those things. And I think it has a lot to do with what changes are trying to be made behind the scenes. So we'll see what happens there for sure. And hi to Celeste from Medford, Oregon. Medford, Oregon. I had a gal work for me years ago who was from Medford. That's the home of Harry and David. So that's interesting. And Teresa has a question for us. She says, does the new age we are entering, the age of Aquarius, been something different for those born under the sign of Aquarius? So I don't know if any of you guys want to answer that or know anything about that. I don't think it matters.
I don't know enough about astrology. I don't think I don't think it relates specifically to your individual sun sign as Aquarius. This is more about people have kind of projected or wondered when we as a collective will be moving into the age of Aquarius. And a lot of people think that that's starting to shift now and that April is going to be a high time for it. So it's more, as I understand, an overarching feeling of Aquarius energy and a lot of Aquarius energy being present for all of us, not necessarily related to those of you that have that as a sun sign.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a good answer. And Grand Rising said she had a spirit drawing with Thomas Jefferson last week. And she'll post the drawing video link in the comments. Yes, please do. That's so amazing. I might have to get that from you because for some reason he's up in my grill.
Around.
So where do you ladies want to go from here? We've talked about, I think one other economy thing I'll share that I saw is I do see supply chain issues in March. And again, later in the summer, issues with supply chain, manufacturing, some of those things. So I did see that kind of flash up. And some economy shifts March, April, but it shifts to the positive, like it dips and comes back up. But I did see some supply chain issues and it looked very sporadic to me. So it's not like everything's out of the store. It was more like certain things are going to be missing and you might have to rethink some of the products or brands that you like. You might have to do some changing, which some of us have had to do already. But it's just something I saw.
I feel like it's actually by design. Like that's what is supposed to be happening now, because we are in this phase of like returning to simplicity, returning to the old ways of, you know, like natural products. And
so I hope you guys
away from commercialism. Can you hear me okay? Oh, Lisa's
yeah,
just
I froze, but you guys are good. Keep going.
Yeah. So I think like that's what's happening is we're all kind of like shifting back towards what's really important. And what's really important is not whether or not they have your favorite DVD at Target. You know what I mean? And not that that's what you were talking about. I know that's not what you were talking about, Lisa, but it's like, this is where we're, you know, like the people that have been coming to me for readings are saying things like, oh my gosh, I used to be this career like driven person and, you know, all of this, but all of it now I just want to be a stay-at-home mom. Right. And it's this similar energy of like where people are looking at it and we're like, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't need the home theater after all. Maybe we don't need the second car after all. And so even like by those things not being available for us, it's not like a fear-based thing. It's like, hey, this isn't what's important to us anymore. This isn't what's going to feed us going forward. And, you know, with any transition, like we end up having to like throw things overboard in order to make through those portals, right? We can't take the, you know, the relationships with us that are not serving us. We can't continue eating the foods that are not healthy for.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Aww. So Lisa, I don't know if you saw the last couple of comments that posted, but I don't want to get your video flagged. I don't know if there's.
We can address. Can you guys hear me now? Because I was frozen for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. We lost Melissa. I'm sure she'll be back. We're just gonna get through it. It's all good.
We're having a fun day with the technology.
Oh my God. Well, you know, that's part of it, right? Part of the journey.
Yeah.
I am happy for us to answer those questions, but we cannot say that word live. So,
Okay.
you know, we can use a different word. I don't know, like roses, maybe. Could
Perfect. Roses are fine.
Yeah, so we can use the word roses, and you guys can figure it out. Whatever we're saying. So
before we move on, can I just say one thing about the supply chain?
Yes, please.
That I was feeling like at the beginning of the year last year, and I wasn't really sure what it meant, but I kept feeling all of this like massive creativity, awakening and just coming, you know, being birthed through people. And I wasn't sure, you know, what it meant. And now I see, as we've gone through this year, that we've had to be creative as people. We've had to be creative as humans because, you know, we haven't been able to get things that we want. We've had to be creative as business owners and just, you know, in all realms. And I love that aspect of 2020 that's happened, but I see that continuing. So even though it may not be that we have to be creative in the same ways, it's like that spirit has been awakened in us and it's going to continue. So we're going to see just more and more creativity from people, and which I think is going to be wonderful for our world, because that's going to open up new ways of doing things, which is a great thing for all of us. So
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And thank you for bringing that back up, because it reminded me that I also wanted to comment on that whole March thing, because I got the 4 of Cups and the Ace of Cups reversed for March. And at the time, and especially in the deck that I have, the 4 of Cups is kind of referring to like the Nightingale story. So it's got some birds that are in a cage. And I was like, oh, we're going to get locked down again. Great. Right. But I was also thinking now that you're talking about, you know, supply chain issues, that of course 4 of Cups is not being happy with what you're being offered and you can't get what you want. So it also fits in with that one. I mean, I figured with us, it might be the whole lockdown thing, because I don't think we're going to have access to any roses for like at least a year, I think, in my country. So we might be looking at being the nightingales in the cage in March. I don't know. We'll see. But you commenting on the whole supply chain issue made me think of that 4 of Cups feeling where you can't get what you want, and you might have to go out of your way to find what it is that you're looking for. Because of course the answer with the 4 of Cups is always like, well, if you can't find it there, then get up. go get it somewhere else. So if like you can't find strawberries at the store, it might be time to learn how to start a backyard garden. You know, I know a lot of people in my community have been getting into starting their own backyard gardens since this all started. I mean, you know, it started as looking just for a hobby in lockdown, and now it's like my friends have some pretty cool gardens going on. So it's easier than you think.
Melissa's back. Yay.
She is. Hi, Melissa. It's
Thank
all
you.
good. We're just going through our technology challenges. Do you want to finish your thoughts?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know what my thoughts were. It was about really returning to simplicity, and anyway, and that's not an easy transition, right? And part of my technology issues is that I'm living van life right now, right? Like I don't have a house anymore. I don't have an apartment. All I have is a van and the few possessions that fit in it, right? And so like those transitions are difficult. Those are hard. It's hard to let that stuff go that for so long, right? Because this is what our media has been telling us, is that we need stuff to keep us happy.
Yeah.
If you have more stuff in your house and in your storage unit and in your car, and you know, like you're going to be safer if you have all of it. And so to unpack all of that, it feels really vulnerable and it feels really scary. But anyway, I guess, again, I just want to go back to like providing that hope for people that, you know, like it can be done. It can shift. It can be a comfortable, well, you know, sometimes the transition is uncomfortable, but where we're headed is going to be much more uplifting. And, you know, where we're headed is getting to that point where the answers are within ourselves, right? We have this intuition, we have this connection with spirit. And what I love about that is that you don't need to have a psychic in order to have that connection, right? You don't have to pay us money in order to get that connection, to get those answers. You can go within, and we need to start trusting that information. And when we start getting rid of all of that noise in the background of whatever that is, whether that's your possessions or the TV programs that you're watching or whatever that is, once we get rid of all of that noise, we're going to be able to hear the spirit world better, because the spirit world doesn't usually shout at us, right? And so we can hear it over the honking horns and the violent movies and the, you know, all of those things. And so going within is where those answers are going to be, and getting rid of all of that nonsense and all of that extra stuff that we've been carrying around on our shoulders for a really long time is going to help us get to that point.
Totally agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're gonna there. Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
Sorry, Melissa, or sorry, Lisa. I just want to say that I think what Melissa is talking about is so essential, because, you know, when she was talking about our DNA is changing, and, you know, that when we get the downloads and things, that it takes a toll. And that's the one thing that I have been getting consistently during meditation and you know, from my spiritual team, is that this has taken such a toll on everybody in the world, this 2020, and what we've been through physically, mentally, and emotionally. And that there is some real rest and regeneration that we have to give ourselves, and it's going to take some time. So that's part of the caution with, don't think it's going to end on, you know, December 31st at 11:59, you're done. You know, it's going to go in and it's going to continue for a while. And we have to be mindful that the way that we used to be able to regenerate, you know, pre-2020 may not work as well now. We have to be really aware of that individually, of what will help us, you know, rest and nourish ourselves on a really deep level, because it's not the same. And there's this thing with time going on that I can't quite put my finger on, but it's like, as we've gotten slower in life, time has sped up in a lot of ways. And it can bring a lot of imbalance. And so, and that requires us to be really mindful and aware of who we are, where our balance is, where we can find the balance. And, you know, again, just about us being sacred beings, like, it's not going to work. The same old things are never going to work again. Like we can't keep going back and hoping. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did, because, the time is compressing, and so it is moving faster, and we're going to continue to compress. So it's really about letting go of the construct that's been created for us and creating your own time construct. We've had lots of conversations this year about that on the show, really. But one thing I've noticed with the health changes is, like, I'm having to make some pretty big changes in how I manage my health. And I'm hence the Buddhist biohacker. I mean, I'm pretty diligent with my health. And I'm noticing that as time is compressing, it almost feels like my body is compressing. And so I'm noticing I have to be lighter and lighter. And there's a lot of work around that. And so, you might notice that your diet is changing, and across the planet, it will change. You've probably noticed all of the faux meat that's everywhere. The planet is going to a more plant-based diet. Whole foods are always the way to go, in my opinion. So I don't know about going to those alternative meat sources, but I don't know anything about that. But what I do know is the planet itself is going to go to a more plant-based diet. We are, in fact, going to stop some of this large farming for meat. That production is going to happen, and that'll happen over the next 10 years, most likely. And our soil is on a time limit right now as a planet. We've got about 70 years left. So there are massive changes that need to happen with the soil. And I think we're going to see a lot more of those advocates come forward, like Dr. Zach Bush. Dr. Mark Hyman just came out with a book, Food Fix. There's a lot of energy in that direction, which kind of leads into the roses conversation. So some of you guys are asking a question. We can't use that word, so we're going to use roses. I'll just give my 2 cents about it. I think you decide what resonates with you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. That's not our jobs. But you've got to decide what resonates with you. And what I've seen is that the requirement of roses will be business-based and government-based. So some states and cities may be airlines, but only certain ones, certain companies that you work for. So I think you're going to have choices. I don't think it's going to be a global requirement, I think, was what I want to say about it. What about you, ladies?
I picked up the same thing in that and I think I picked it up like around the month of August, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that we all are going to have to make these value judgments about that, about how it impacts us in our life, and how, does it align with my belief systems? And again, like I've been saying it this whole hour, is like, it's about going within and finding those answers within. It's not all going to be found by Googling and by, checking with different professionals and things like that. Everybody is going to be making their own decisions for themselves. There's not one right answer.
I'm like anybody else. I'm trying
Amen.
to be
Amen to both of you, because Lisa, I feel the same thing. I feel like it's going to be a company by company, or different individual basis of whether it's roses are required or not. And it's going to cause some challenges, but I think that's where the creativity is going to come up again, where, you know what I mean? Everybody's got to make the decision for themselves. That's very important. I really think that it's up to us. It's our responsibility as humans, spiritual beings on this earth, to decide what's in our highest good, to do the research, to look beyond, to feel our way into it and make those decisions. And then, it's just going to require us to do what, live with, do the best we can where we're at with what we've got, like we've done all year. So,
yeah. I was just going to say, for where I am, and I guess anybody else who lives in a place where like traveling is very frequent, or it's something that you need to do. So, for us, we have 700 islands in my country, right? And it's way easier. You can just take a 20-minute flight to get to them, as opposed to taking almost like a day-long boat trip or an overnight ride to get to somewhere. So I feel like people who have to travel a lot, they might have a little more trouble, because I feel like the roses requirements for traveling, like they might require like, we need to see your last rose purchase or something, or we're not going to be able to let you go. So I think it'll just depend on if you're someone who likes to travel, and you might have to be a bit more mindful in the future of where you go. But if, like you said, it's still the choices. No one's forcing you to go take a beach vacation. So, and there will always be options for other places to go. I just feel like it's going to be a bit of a sticky situation, but I don't think that it's going to be an overnight one, So I think you would be able to tell if you're living in a place where, all right, I feel like it's likely that they're going to tell us we need to have roses, as opposed to living in a place where you can tell that they're not going to do that. And if you're in a place where you feel like they're going to require you to buy roses and do these things, then maybe you have to make the tough decision to move if you really don't want that. And that is a choice and a responsibility that you're going to have to be aware of and take as it comes. But like I said, I don't think we're going to have access to roses over here for at least another year. So, yeah.
Yeah, when I sat down to channel, they didn't show me really anything about roses.
Me neither.
And it almost felt like it just went away. And I don't know why that's the message that I got, but I got a lot of other things, but roses didn't even show up. And so for me, I would have to read that as it's not going to be that big of a problem in 2021. There will be other things that will come in, but that's not something that's going to be predominantly carried forward into the new year.
Interesting. Wow.
You heard it here first.
Yes, I think that's very interesting to me. And I agree with all four of you on what you're seeing and feeling. I mean, I think at the end of the day, there's different narratives happening out there, and it's whatever one you want to believe in. I mean, that's really the truth of it. Your perception is your reality. I saw some questions about any insight into the media or false narratives or any of those things. And I think it's pretty clear if you're looking at it, what's, truth with a capital T and what isn't truth. But it's all sort of mixed up too. So I think you really have to do your due diligence and trust your intuition. What I channeled very specifically for the mainstream information is that there would continue to be false news or false stories from all different places. So you really have to be careful about where you're getting your information. And quite frankly, I've been joking with my husband, like, I'm just going to drive down and see for myself. And that's literally where it's at for me, because I don't know that I believe anything. And I'm starting to question even people who have firsthand accounts, if they're even true or not. So I think you really have to discover for yourself what the truth is and what truth even matters, to be honest. I mean, that's kind of my sense about it is, everyone's perception is their reality. So one group may feel one way and one group may feel a different way, but at the end of the day, it's everyone's awakening. So it doesn't really matter what narrative you buy into. None of them are reality. I think. I don't know. That's my opinion.
I think with that question, there was one of the combos I pulled for June was the King of Cups and the Devil, right? And we've also got that solar eclipse in June, right? And it's in Gemini. So you've already got that twin energy. And then you've got the King of, and I feel like if there are any two energies that would seem opposite to me, it would be the King of Cups and the Devil. You've got one person who's so empathetic and really cares about other people and is trying to help and is very emotional. And the devil is right there trying to play on your emotions, manipulate you, do all these things. So I feel like if there's any particular time where maybe you'd be able to see someone for what they're doing, like you'd be able to be like, oh, that's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Sometime around June, I feel like there might be that kind of energy coming to light where it would be revealed that somebody was being like that. Because I just think that pairing is very loud and out there. Yeah, especially in light of the Gemini solar eclipse energy that's going on in June. So I keep my eyes around for that.
I love that. One of the things I got for June was like darkness and natural disasters. So like it hadn't even occurred to me that that connection. But like one thing that I want to offer too is, like, I talked about how July is huge. Like that's the big month for me during the year. And part of what I was picking up that is going to be happening for us during the month of July is that we're going to actually, like, there's going to be some newcomers to, like, new leaders, new thought leaders, new, I don't know if it's politicians but there is a very strong spirituality bent to it. And these new people are like, they're rising in power, they're rising in strength. And so that they're able to take on this burden, so that they're able to be that, like we were talking about the lighthouse and the tower, these are our lighthouses and these are our towers. And they're in the process right now of dealing with their own stuff so that they can rise up and then show us the way, right? So it's not like we're just going to be completely on our own throughout the entire year and we're going to be doubting what everybody else is saying, because I'm with you about the media. I don't even like to watch the news or check Google headlines or any of that stuff because there's so much to decipher, right? But for me, that's what I want to share is I do feel like there are some new leaders coming on that are going to be spiritually aligned, that are going to be uplifting, that are going to help us through the process, and that are going to be beneficial to us, that are not going to just cause us more confusion and more stress.
Yeah. And I think that's really interesting because one of the comments, I think it was Heather, was saying earlier when I was talking about the lighthouse things earlier, she was saying also, we are the light. We must be the grounding points as people continue to wake up. And I thought that was a really interesting point to make too. And then someone else was asking about the toxic division. For May, I would keep an eye out in May because the energy that I pulled there, it was the Ace of Wands and Justice reversed. So not that it's going to be like fire in the streets or anything, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of like activism energy in May. And then there's also another lunar eclipse that's in May, and that's in Sagittarius. So that's more fire energy. So May is very fiery, and at the very least, people aren't going to be willing to like take injustice laying down. They're not just going to be cool with it and just like water off a duck's back. They're going to be like, no, I'm going to take action right now. So I think that's interesting that that's May, and then June is having that King of Cups versus Devil realization. So you never know if it's the people who have that decision to take action and, really stand up for what they believe in and against injustice that helps kind of reveal those things that come up in June. And then July is, like you said, the new lighthouses coming and the new people who have things to share that are a bit more transparent, or at least not literally the devil.
That's interesting because May, what I saw in May was that there was going to be data released and new information coming to the forefront that was based on what we've been through this year. And I also saw in August that there was definitely significant legal energy in August, trial energy and arrest energy in August, whatever that is regarding. You can only speculate, I suppose, but I did see there's a lot of legal energy all year. But what's interesting is May was about judgment. The judgment card was in May. It was about truths being revealed. It was about energy and data coming out. And then August is like this trial energy. I also saw a woman coming to the forefront. I'm kind of scanning my notes here. I think she comes forward in May or June here. But I did see a woman coming forward. So when you talk about new leadership, that's interesting because I did see that coming to the forefront also, that there is a female energy that's coming to the forefront.
You know what I think is really interesting talking about, because I think we were talking about July being that kind of new leadership energy, and you're talking about it being a female energy. And I was saying that one of the cards I pulled was strength. And of course, that's a female on that card. And, handling the beast, but in that tender way that, we're not trying to pry the jaws open and fight it or anything, but just approaching difficulty from a different. So I think that's interesting to keep an eye out for that.
Mm-hmm.
Awakening the divine feminine. Bring it.
There you go. There it is again. Yeah.
Should we talk about natural disasters?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
Yeah, because I think we've mentioned it a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
So I started getting downloads probably about 6 months ago of tsunami energy. And I even remember driving down the road and I could see in my third eye this huge like tidal wave, right? And so I knew that they were trying to give me some kind of indication that tsunami energy was going to be stepping forward. And when I sat down to channel, the first tsunami energy that I saw felt connected to eastern side of the globe, like South Asia area. But California kept coming in over and over and over again. So much so that I felt like it was going to be felt in neighboring states around California. And a lot of volcanic activity. And one of the channel notes I wrote down was increased volcanic activity in a U.S. park, sparking concerns over eruption. But I was seeing a lot of like orange and fire in the sky. I feel like we're going to have massive natural destruction in 2021.
Yep, and
Unfortunately.
and to piggyback on that, I got massive water element. So with what you're saying, I also got tsunami energy. I also saw just a lot of mudslides in California specifically. Like I see a lot of mudslides and a lot of flooding, heavy snowstorms in February and March, really, really heavy in the Northern Hemisphere. So something to look out for. So it's like all water element there, with the mudslides, the tsunami energy, flooding energy throughout the year. September flagged for a lot of flooding, which is kind of a weird month to flood. But I've had some lucid dreams in 2020 of a tsunami also. It's definitely an island space, and it feels Eastern, like Asia to me as well. And I've had like 3 of them now. So it's pretty potent that something is coming down the pipeline. And it felt like that July to August flip felt natural disaster to me. It felt like July was this open celebration, kind of bright, big, huge month like July. And then August, there was like this deflation, and it was impacting financial and economy. And it also had that water element. So I feel like there's a little star to put by that July to August timeframe. It felt like something might be going on there. There was something to watch out for. The volcanic activity is interesting because I'm very connected to Yellowstone National Park, and actually went up there and did a channel transmission called the Yellowstone Stargate that's in my membership page. And Yellowstone is a pulse point on the planet, but it's shifting into becoming more of a major energy, like a chakra of the planet Earth, where it wasn't seen as one before. So it'll be interesting to see what unfolds there. I also got some earthquake and volcanic activity. I was seeing it later in the year. I'm trying to remember. I think it was like that August, September timeframe too. So I agree with what you're saying.
I would just, sorry, that's a little loud. I think that one now. Okay. Anyway, I would just like to add to that. I've been feeling, April through June is going to be a time of just really weird weather. Like it's going to be things that are not normal. Not really. I didn't get any like specific, natural disasters or things like that. It just felt weird and uncommon, like not normal. And that's April to June. And then September through November, I feel like there's like everything's amped up. It's almost like the weather's on steroids, which would really coincide with the flooding that you were talking about, Lisa, that's not typical in September. And I want to say with California for months now, I have been having dreams and getting feelings that California, and I don't because I'm trying to be loose about it. I'm trying not to hone in and get real specific, but I keep feeling like it's changing, and the whole, like, the earth is changing, the geographical formations, all of it is changing in a way for whatever reason. And so that's going to bring a lot of things like mudslides and just like uprooting of things that wouldn't normally happen, whether that's from natural disasters. I mean, I assume that's what it would be. But California seems really pivotal to, that coast, like, of our country. So in a lot of ways. So that, just want to add that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was a kid, my grandmother, this was, oh my gosh, we're talking 25, 30 years ago. I remember sitting in her living room and she said, "Hey, Lisi," that was my nickname. "Do you know that people are predicting that California is going to become a chain of islands?" And I'd probably say 3 weeks ago, that conversation came up and I could see myself sitting in her living room, her telling me to pull up the map and let's take a look and let's see what they're predicting, because I get my gifts from her. So she was very intrigued about these predictions, but it just stuck with me all these years about the geography of the West Coast of the United States changing, and having that map that she talked about flash in front of my face. It was disturbing, and I could feel that message stick with me for days. So I don't want it to be true. I would rather be wrong.
Right.
But I can't deny that that's what's coming forward.
That just gave me, like, I can't even tell you what that did when you were saying all of that, Delisa, because that's exactly, like, I didn't put the pieces together, but yeah, it's going to be completely different.
As it is supposed to be. It's like, it's divinely orchestrated, right? Like these are the clouds that are going to give us those silver linings, and that are going to usher us into that age of Aquarius that we're referring it to, this bliss that we want to get to eventually. Like, it kind of has to happen, all of the doom and the gloom and the awkwardness and the traumas and things like that. That's what ushers in real change. And like, listening to all of us talk, right? There's a huge opportunity for change. We're all screaming out, change, change, change. We want change. And unfortunately, that's not always comfortable, but it feels to me like Spirit really wants us to rise above that. And I'm even getting that really strongly with that tower metaphor, right? Like, this is where we are, like, it's time for us to crawl into our safe places, right? Like, and that can be literal in the weather sense, but it's also figurative of, like, just rise above all that negativity and all of that fear. That's where we're at right now, is, like, there's a spiritual awakening. It's not just that our basements are going to flood or whatever that is. Like, these are all being, like, peppered into our reality in order to help us to get through that transition and to find that blissful place that we all are. You know what? Our souls know it's possible, right? Especially us psychics, right? We come into this world and we're like, it doesn't have to be like this. I sense it can be different. And gosh, all of these weather events and the political systems and all of that stuff, as uncomfortable as it is, thank goodness it's showing us the way to where we want to get. And even if that is a beautiful island chain of the California coast, instead of it being, the way that it looks today, I bet it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be beautiful. And we're going to be flying to the California islands, and in addition to the Caribbean and so on,
Well, yeah. And I think it's important to listen to your intuition. I can't tell you how many clients I talked to in the last 2 weeks who want to move. So here's the deal, whether it's roses or flooding or earthquakes or politics or whatever it is, if the land mass you are on no longer resonates with you, this is about harmonic resonance. It's about going where you belong. And it is divinely timed. It's also divinely planned. Like, you planned it. So if you feel like you're being forced out of your location, or you feel like your location has dead energy and you have to go, or you're not even sure where to go, like, this is spirit telling you something. And what they're telling you is where you are no longer resonates with you. You're in your own awakening, and go where it resonates with you. So trust your intuition. I mean, it's always nice to call a psychic and say, hey, should I move or not? Like, but at the end of the day, like, if you're wanting to ask that question, you probably want to move. You probably know already where to go. So we can help you for sure, but it's important for you to listen to your intuition. A lot of people moved this year, and a lot more people are going to move next year. And some people are going to be transient, like Melissa and possibly Delisa too, who are just sort of transient gypsies because their energies needs to be out there for everybody to connect in with. So keep that in mind too with all of these changes. And I agree on California. I mean, my mom's joked, and my gifts are also through the women in my family. My mom's always joked, like, she's from California, so I think she can joke about this, but she's like, when is California going to fall into the ocean? Like, I've been waiting my whole life for that to happen. And it's kind of a funny joke, but it's not so funny anymore, because I do agree that something is coming and shifting and happening. And I'm just not quite sure how that's going to look either. But I definitely saw, the image I saw very specifically was like whole chunks of muddy earth in a rainstorm falling into the ocean. So I feel like between mudslides and possibly a tsunami or earthquakes or a combination of those things, it is going to change the structure. Interestingly enough, is they are filing a new California. There's actually a group of new Californians who are filing for as separate from the state of California because of the election. And so with that, there is energy of California splitting apart.
That's where my mind went.
Yeah. So it's out there. It's shifting.
Yeah. I didn't get anything particularly that like jumped out to me, but I have a feeling that's also a little bit, again, we have to use the context of where I'm from. Like, we have hurricane season. So it's like inevitable that we're going to have a storm every year. Now, I think that it was interesting that, like, basically one of the things that I first heard was like 2021 spins, right? And the image that I had was kind of like smoke spinning and hurricane spin. And so I think it's a little different for me, because I guess when you grow up with these kinds of things and you grow up with an awareness that you might not have everything you have by the end of the season. It's just a little bit different when it comes to predicting these things happening. Like, you might have a favorite tree that's just going to be gone, or you might not have your house. Like, especially after Hurricane Dorian, there were some people before the hurricane hit that had these dreams, right? And I think this is something that's really important, because I know that you guys were talking about some of your natural disasters that you were describing are sudden events, right? Hurricanes, they come off the coast of Africa. They're like, we're watching this one, and this one. It's a tropical storm. Okay, well, 4 days from now, it's going to be this and this and this. You have time to pack. You have time to make decisions. You have time to decide if you're going to go. If it's something like an earthquake or, a volcanic eruption, sometimes they give their little rumblings beforehand. But those are going to be those situations where you really should lean into trusting yourself and your dreams and the messages that you get, where, like you were saying, if you're not resonating with where you are anymore, or if you get a feeling where, like, I need to go, listen to what you feel. It's not always going to be one of those things where you get a whole week's warning and you get to, we'll watch it as it comes closer, and then we'll decide if we evacuate or not. So sometimes you really just have to lean into trusting yourself. And I feel like 2020 was the training wheels exercise. Where it's like, okay, are you going to swerve when you feel like you should swerve, or are you going to swerve when someone tells you to swerve? And it's kind of been that period where you were supposed to be paying attention so that you could sense when you need to, pull the wheel and move over a little bit, instead of waiting for somebody else. Because sometimes the person who may be looking out for you, in all honesty, might miss it. It's not always something that's like, bad intent, but sometimes you just have to have accountability and really listen to yourself and trust your messages and trust your spirit team, and just pay attention, because it sounds like from what you were describing that you should pay attention. That's all I'm going to say.
And I think
look for your lighthouses.
Sorry, Marlena.
No, I'm done. It's okay.
A really interesting thing for me, and this was actually this spring before the pandemic started. I actually woke up one morning and the spirit world like was in my head, and they kept saying the Von Trapp family, the Von Trapp family, the Von Trapp family. I was like, well, what the heck is that about, right? So I looked it up, and that's like the Sound of Music family.
Music, yeah.
And if you watch, there's not the Sound of Music, but there's a movie about the Von Trapp family, them actually having to emigrate from their home, this big, beautiful mansion, right? They had to leave. They had to walk away from their like everything that they had ever known and been comfortable with. They left all of their beautiful antique furniture and all of their, their bedding and all they left with was what was on their backs and what they could carry as they were walking like by foot, right? And the spirit world was sharing with me that I needed to be ready to do that. And I think not that I don't want to, cause fear in people, but I think we always need to be willing to walk away from those things. Walk away from the place that that you resonated with as your home, whether that's California or somewhere else. You have to be able to walk away from that house that you built, that you love, that you renovated the kitchen and it's perfect and yada, yada, right? We have to be able to just like, okay, what really matters to me is the people love and getting out of that situation. And so we've got to just follow that intuition. If it's telling you to go, and if it's telling you to go somewhere where you've never thought about going before, don't bother calling Melissa Devine and saying, hey, should I move to this weird place that I've never thought of before? Trust that inner knowing and be ready to walk away from those things that used to be your comfort zone and move towards the things that your intuition is telling you is going to be your comfort zone going forward.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be from a place of fear. Like you were saying, you're not trying to generate fear. And again, maybe it's just because I grew up in an environment where, we're used to having this season where things can go. You might lose your roof. You might lose, we had things where it was like you put passports in a plastic bag and you put them in a high place and you're used to that every year. Like there's just an element of not holding too tightly to things. And it doesn't have to come from a place of fear. I think it's a really grounding exercise when you stop and ask yourself, if I could only grab these certain things, what would I take? And I don't think it needs to come from a place of fear. It just shows you, it reminds you what's really important to you. And it will save you time if you ever, God forbid, are in a situation where you need to grab those things. You'll find that, traveling light, just because you have less doesn't mean like you have less. I don't know how to articulate it, but just because you have fewer things doesn't mean you have less value in your life. If anything, you have less distractions, so you get to see more of the value in your life. So it doesn't have to come from a place of fear. So when you're writing this little list, don't be like, oh, I'm giving into the fear. If I write this down, that means something bad's going to happen to me. No, you're writing a list of the things that matter to you the most. Just think of it that way.
Yeah. And we're in this really important time right now. We're, 2 days away from a huge solar eclipse and a new moon, all about endings and beginnings, so this is like the perfect time to be talking about this. What do we want to leave behind, from 2020 and take with us into 2021? And what can we let go of in life that's weighing us down? Because like Lisa was saying earlier with time, we need to be lighter. It's all about being lighter. It's all about being more connected. It's all about, us knowing for us. That's how I began, we're sovereign. We're free from outside rule. We've got to know that, live it, trust it, believe it, all of it. So.
Yep. I love you ladies. And I want to, we've been here a while. And I think we can absolutely do more of this. And I do hope and know, I think that all of us are going to come together. So don't you guys worry. We'll be back again. But what else is on your list that you guys are dying to share? I know that I saw 2 deaths of male. So 2 male deaths and 1 female death that were all like public figures or people of importance that would make the news. I didn't get any other information on that, you guys. I really just got that 2 males and 1 female would pass away and it would make the news. So that was something I saw in addition to all the court stuff, separate from the court stuff, but as part of what I was looking at. But Delisa, I see you nodding. So
Yeah, because I channeled it through right after I channeled through the big media upheavals and courts and trials and people being held to the truth. It came in right after that about these celebrities, but they didn't give me much. So I'll share with you what came through. A young, very famous actress will die suddenly and tragically. Question marks around her passing, and how could that happen? It will be declared an accident after the investigation, misused substances involved. There'll also be another prominent actress with blonde hair that will die of an overdose, but a thorough investigation will not be needed, and a famous young male comedic actor under the age of 40 will commit suicide. The theme will feel like for 2021 that some celebrities are dying too young. I feel an increase in suicide as well.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting because somebody in our Buddhist biohacker community, Cheryl, who's out there, had a dream. Cheryl Garcia reached out to Delisa because she had a dream that could fill in the blank for you. Very interesting. Actually.
Oh, okay. Oh, that would be amazing.
Like, you guys need to connect so she can email you or something. We'll figure it out. But
okay.
I'll connect you guys on email. So that's interesting. Yeah, because I felt like the female actress energy feels a lot like what I saw with the female that's leaving. The two men that I saw felt political to me, honestly. And one of them felt United States and one of them felt not US. It felt maybe UK. But I'm not 100% sure, but it felt like one was US and one was somebody else. So that was kind of interesting too. Interesting on the desk. Any other things that you other ladies pulled, Melissa, anything? And
I didn't get it in that much detail, but I do want to say as soon as you started talking about it, like the psychic hit that I got is that these, like, obviously these aren't like coincidental deaths. This is part of their Akashic records and part of their life plan, but that they are paving the way for what is to come for us, right? Like they're creating a vacancy for other people to come into. And especially when you were talking about the politician, that for me felt like, oh yes, that's removing of all of, this kind of old stale energy and letting this new energy come to the forefront. So I think that's going to be happening kind of across the board, but inclusive of these passings that you were talking about too.
I didn't really get much specific about celebrities. The two things that I felt were that there's going to continue to be a lot of death just in general. I mean, people are choosing to leave is what I keep feeling. And the numbers, so it even more. And then a lot of marriages. I just feel people are wanting to get married, like they are really. And so I just feel like across the board, not just celebrities, but just in general. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I didn't get any celebrity stuff, but I feel like that's probably along the line of the symbols that I was getting anyway. You're thinking about lighthouses and caves. It's like, we're not worried about, spotting the mermaid off the side of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bit more like focused where it might even be that, of course, there will always be celebrities. There have always been celebrities, but just that the focus might be shifting a little bit. So it's not so much like, oh, I have to keep the notifications on my phone so I can find out what Kim wore today or something. You know what I mean? Like the focus, it's just not there anymore. Sure, you might still be curious. And as things shift, of course, you might be looking at the people that are up there who may still be living the life you were living in 2016 because, they're still having parties or having their, big pool in their mansion or something. But it won't necessarily be the same way that you looked at a celebrity in like 2004 or something. It's coming from like a different angle. It's not quite the same level of I want to be them because I want to be famous. It's more like it must be nice to not have the problems that I have which of course they have problems too, but realistically it's still different. I just don't think that the focus is going to be so much like hyper aware of them anymore and who are they dating this week, and it's just not going to be you're not going to be so concerned about that. It's going to be more of like the supply chain issue you were talking about that might happen in March. It's just a little different. Entertainment matters. I mean, I'm a screenwriter by trade. I'm not saying that nobody's going to watch movies anymore. It's just the idolization of celebrities. I don't see that so much anymore. I like especially what we were talking about with June, with the whole like King of Cups versus the devil, and the whole wolf in sheep's clothing, and people not necessarily being who you think they are. There's a lot of disillusionment. So people might still respect them for their craft and respect them for their talent, but it won't be so much of like, I want to be just like Cameron Diaz. It's not the same energy anymore, really.
Yeah, I channeled this very specific. This is like straight from my channeling. Those in the public eye will be desperately trying to maintain their appearances while the investment into their fame and pull dissolves. And so I agree, like, with what you guys are saying, like that time is over. We are our own celebrity. That is the point of the awakening. And I also channeled watch out for false idols. This is really the collapse of the idyllic visions that folks have. Anyone can be on YouTube. Anyone can have a social media account. Anyone can create a show. Anyone can make a movie. Like, this is the future of the Aquarian age, going back to what is the age of Aquarius.
Right.
Aquarius and the age of Aquarius is about us being our own creators. We don't need to go to a movie theater. And in fact, most of them are closed or out of business because of the global event this year.
Yeah.
So you're going to see the reduction of celebrity and fame and the rise of individual celebrity, individual creativity, individual fame, because we are the star of our own show. And that is really what's happening here. We are the stars of our own show. We are the center of our own reality. And we're not supposed to look outside ourselves. And it's going to be, I'm sorry, but for most of us, it's already obvious. I mean, if you're watching this show, it's probably obvious. But if you're not, it's okay. If you're new to the community, if you're newly awakened, it's okay. But it's pretty obvious now, and will be even more blatant next year, I think, how false the realities are of those who have been idolized. So I think that's really important. It's actually a really important thing to talk about, is that, which is, why does it matter what their opinion is to you? Like, there's a lot of propaganda about what these particular celebrities feel about politics, about their toothpaste, about whatever. And the reality is, why should that be your opinion? And why does that matter? That's the inner work for you to do in 2021. Because you're going to be slapped. I think you're going to be slapped in the face. And I think a lot of these celebrities are leaving the planet because they're no longer needed here. Yeah. Their service to self mission is done. And now it's about service to others. And it will become more and more clear who's aligned with that and who is not in 2021, I think, for sure. So I think some of these people are out the door, whether they choose to leave or whether it's part of, a pre-choice that manifests. I think a lot of those people, political, I agree, Melissa, like old energy, the decay is ending. And there's a lot of people that are going to leave because they just don't need to be here to do their mission anymore. So any other dying things you have to, not dying, but like things you're dying to share? Any more dying?
I want to just in response to that, I want to say our idea of a celebrity is shifting. I've kind of heard that already, but like it feels to me like we're aligning ourselves with more of like a shamanic type energy. That's going to become our idea of a celebrity, sort of quote unquote. Obviously, the word celebrity isn't exactly appropriate there. But that's where our value system is going to be going forward.
The admiration,
spiritual alignment, more so than what the size of your waistline is and who makes yoga pants. It's more about that spirituality component.
Yeah. And I think that's a gift in a lot of ways, because of course I do personal myth work, and I feel like how you were talking about the false idols, Lisa. And I think something that's really important to mention is, like, of course, if you're someone who's binge watching Netflix all day, if you're binge watching Netflix, you're not living your own life, right? Like I said, I'm a screenwriter. I love TV. Don't get me wrong. But if you're spending the majority of your day watching somebody else live their life, then you're not being an active participant in your own. And it's like the same thing plays out when you're idolizing a celebrity and you're like watching so much of what are they doing in their life? What did you do in your life today? Like, how about we focus on what is going on that you so badly don't want to be involved in your own story, that you're so desperately looking into somebody else's. Like, it's going to be that awareness where, and it's happening slowly, where we are becoming more of that active hero, that active participant, instead of looking to watch somebody else's story, being like, hey, I can live a happy life. Hey, and taking that step and channeling that energy, bringing it back and using it on yourself instead of throwing it out to a celebrity through a screen and, liking all their posts all the time. The only other thing I wanted to mention was the tower actually came up twice in my spread. So it came up reversed in July, and then it came up reversed again in December. So I think that there's going to be some kind of connection between July and September for it to come twice, because like I said, I used 2 decks. And then it was also the 7 of Wands that was there in December. So I feel like once we get toward the end of 2021, obviously there's a lot of energy that's going on in 2021. There's a lot going on. And December is going to be a lot about kind of like solidifying the progress that has been made and kind of like laying down those boundaries and making sure that we don't kind of backtrack and really getting a physical idea of where we are now. And instead of waiting for a tower event to happen, being like, okay, we've come this far. Now let's stop and let's actually do a foundational check on the building. Are there any cracks that we can see right now that we can just address now instead of waiting for it to collapse on us like last time? And it just being a little bit more mindful moving forward. And so I think that whatever happened in July, there's going to be kind of a callback to it in December and an awareness there of really, really taking score of what's happened in 2021 and making sure that it matters and that it's not just kind of thrown out with the bathwater when we move into 2022.
I love it. Celeste just commented, Southern Oregon and Northern California have a group of folks who have a dream of being a state called the state of Jefferson. So that's pretty amazing. And everything we talked about.
Wow.
Whoa. I'm going to Google that.
Wow.
That's crazy. Delisa, Michelle, any last thoughts?
I'll read you what I wrote as my final thoughts for 2021. It says, you can only control yourself and your thoughts. Will you choose to take positive action or point your finger at everyone else? If you play the victim in 2021, you'll likely feel run over by a freight train. Stick with the facts, ask for clarity and discernment, and use your energy to create joy in your life and community. Things around you will be changing quickly. Don't panic. Breathe, stay in the moment, allow things to unfold, and allow yourself to live in the question. Life may feel confusing or unclear, so give yourself grace and patience. If you get stuck, ask yourself, what can I do now that will create more joy? Let your heart lead the way. Don't get pulled into other people's drama or vendettas.
I love that.
Here, here.
I love that, living in the question.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I would just say that it's simply, my thing for 2021 is to just be present as much as we can, to remember that it's our responsibility to be intuitive. We're all intuitive. It's our responsibility to be intuitive and to discern what we need, what we want, how we want to live, how we want to spend our money, where we want to spend our money, what we want to give our energy to, because it does matter. What we give thoughts and words and our energy to makes a huge difference in our lives. So, 2020 is going to be about huge change continuing. Like I said, it's not like there's a switch and 2020 is done and then we are in bliss in 2021. So know that, and don't be shocked when it doesn't happen, and find your balance, So
So beautiful. And you ladies rock. And I see some folks loving this video. I've never ever seen that was even a thing in my streaming service. So if you guys want to like or love our video, I guess you can, and we get to see that you're doing it. So that's kind of fun. So don't forget to subscribe and follow and all those great things. And what I'd like to do is there's 5 of us psychic mediums here, and we are all very talented, or we wouldn't be together. I think we all share the same vision because all 5 of us have said at least once that it's all about you getting your own information. But we are here to help you. We're here to help you in whatever way you need, whether it's connecting to a loved one, or connecting with yourself, or trying to make that decision about whether or not you're going to move, whatever it is you need to do. Oh yeah, here comes the likes. Look at how cool this is. You guys like this video. It's pretty fun. I get to see it tick up. It's kind of fun. Anyways, so what I'd like to do is just go around, ladies, and if you want to share how folks can get a hold of you, that's very important. And if there's anything that you have going on right now that you want to share, any end of year or New Year stuff, or whatever you want to share about your practice, so that folks can connect with you, and then I'll go last. So Melissa, why don't you go first?
Okay. Yeah. All right. So where to go? Oh my God. We could have done this for like the whole day, by the way. Like, this has been so much fun. And thank you. And thank you so much to you, Lisa, you beautiful ladies, and everybody who is watching. I really want to end this on a note of empowerment for everyone. And I want to say, okay, can I read this really quickly?
Yes.
What Spirit gave me as we were starting this today was to believe in ourselves and believe in the power of hope to transform our lives and our realities. You have the power for that. Like, this has been happening all through 2020 and through 2021, as well as going to continue progressively. We're not just stuck. We're not alone. Spirit is with us. They're helping us. They're guiding us. And we do have the power to manifest what we want to create, the joys, the blessings, and so on that we have in our lives. And yes, absolutely. So my name is Melissa Devine. You can find my website at melissadevine.net. And I do private readings, and I hopefully will be doing some more workshops and things again in the future. We'll see how that goes. As I mentioned, I'm living in a van right now. I'm in California. I'm going to get out of here before it falls into the ocean, but but that's where I'm at right now. So, I'm really having a good time connecting with people that are just sending me messages as they're seeing me drive down the highway. It's been really lovely and really beautiful. So I want to give a shout out to all of those people as well. And I just want to reemphasize really what Lisa said is that, I'm here to help you, to empower you, to make these steps forward, not necessarily just to give you all of the answers, but I want to be here for you in a support role. So if you feel that you need love, then by all means, reach out to me on my website. You can schedule a reading with me if that resonates. And as well, you can also follow me on Instagram. I'm Melissa Devine _medium. And that's totally free. I try to put a lot of inspirational stuff on there. You can follow my van life trials and tribulations. And but hopefully you'll just really benefit from all of the love that I put into those posts. So again, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Melissa. Marlena.
Well, I'm going to start with my thank yous too, because from the moment you asked me, I felt so special. I was like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm moving up to the big girls table. I feel so grateful to be on this call with you guys. You're just amazing, amazing women. I do tarot readings mainly, but I also do personal myth work. So like we were talking earlier about, sending your energy out. If you're someone who happens to like either fantasize a lot or you're someone who dissociates very often, it's kind of that process of pulling yourself back into your own story, becoming more aware of the myths that lead your life, and more consciously moving forward with it, because there's no reason that you can't be the active hero that you need in your life. Like, you are that person that you think you need somebody to come save you. It's you, and you can totally do it. So I offer tarot readings and personal myth work guidance, and I'm the same way, where I'm not here to give you yes or no answers. I'm not here to tell you it's my way or the highway. You know, if you don't do what I do, then your life is going to go up in flames. No, I'm here to offer support. I'm to kind of just bring some clarity to you if you need any. And so I am on Instagram at island.wise, or you can find my website, islandwisetarot.com. Now, if you go to my Instagram, I have a whole link tree, and that you have the option to, we can have a Zoom reading, we can have Zoom tarot readings, or a Zoom personal myth work session where we can pull some cards, we can talk about, you know, some of your guiding myths, what's holding you back, any conflicting myths you have. And it comes with some lovely journaling questions. It's not homework. I don't need to read them. It's just prompts for you to ask yourself these questions and, you know, get some answers from yourself. So yeah, you can find any of my links through my Instagram, because I've got a little link tree, and you can get my Etsy, my website, my Zoom bookings. It's all there for you. And I can't wait to see you all. Yeah. Thank you again for including me in this.
Yes, and Marlena and I will be back with Tarot Tuesdays in January. So don't worry if you have burning questions for the new year, we'll be answering them then. And Michelle.
Well, going to follow suit and say thank you so much, because it's just been a pleasure. And I appreciate Lisa so much, all you lovely ladies, and everybody who joined us and who will watch the replay. You can find me at michellesnelling.com. That's Michelle with 1 L. Snelling with 2. I always have to preface that because everybody wants to put 2 L's in Michelle. And I am here to help and support via any intuitive guidance that you may need. And we all need it from time to time. Sometimes you just need validation. Even us psychics need it. When we reach out to our fellow psychics and say, can you just tell me if I'm on the right track? But so I can do that. I do private readings. I do group readings. I'm a medium, so I can help connect you with those who have passed away. And I offer a Grown-Up Timeout Plus, which is a wonderful thing that I do. It's going to become seasonal starting in January. That includes lots of intuitive stuff, gatherings, card parties, and products. So I can also help you with my intuitively created custom line of essential oil and salt products that can help you to kind of clear the clutter and get clarity in your own life. So
Love it. And last but not least, Delisa.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I know we just hit our 2-hour mark.
I know. I love it though.
So yeah, I do psychic and mediumship work. I think my love is helping people that are entrepreneurs or business owners, and looking at the energy that's projected for your business or a business you want to start. I'm a serial entrepreneur by nature. And I have a new community that starts here in a couple of weeks called the Spark Plug, and I'm taking signups for that now. And yeah, my website is spiritandspark.com, all spelled out, and Instagram and Facebook at Spirit and Spark. And we do have a private Facebook group that you can search Spirit and Spark on Facebook, and it'll pop up. So yeah, connect. It'd be fun.
I love it. And I love all 4 of you so very much. And I know we've done some meeting of the mediums, and I'm sure we're going to do that again. And I'll be reaching out because it's really fun to connect with loved ones live. I think it's kind of just a fun little adventure. And thank you, ladies, for taking the time, and for everybody who's watching. You can connect with me at ajatakasha.com, and it's coming across the screen on the bottom right now. Ajatakasha is Sanskrit for boundless space, infinite space in Tibetan, and that is where I go when I get all of my information. So that is why it is named that. I do readings as well, mediumship sessions, soul sessions, channeling, psychic readings, whatever it is you need. There's lots of options for you there. And I do want to share, I'm so freaking excited because I completed my 2021 predictions and monthly overview and transmission. And my team and I have put together the most fabulous document. It's 47 pages, you guys. It's all 12 months of 2020's transmissions. Those are available to anybody who's a member of the group, as well as the 2021 transmissions. And that is for sale right now on ajatakasha.com. So if you go there and you click shop Ajatakasha, you can buy the transmissions and be able to read everything from this year and everything for the year to come. It's beautiful too. It's like the most divine, feminine, beautiful document you've ever seen in your life. And it has an introduction that was channeled by me back in 2009, channeling Oxen Shaman, who is an ancient Egyptian being, and his message to all of us at the very beginning. So it's a real treat. It's real beautiful, and I can't believe it's done and up. So you guys can access that there. And of course, find us here on Buddhist Biohacker 2021. Yay!
You are amazing, Lisa.
Oh
Yes.
my God, you guys are amazing. And everybody watching is amazing. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow. All 5 of us will be back in the new year. Delisa has a YouTube channel. I believe Marlena has a YouTube channel. Melissa, Michelle, do you guys have one?
I do.
Okay.
I have one. It has nothing on it though, so don't buy it.
Well, here's the deal. We're all on YouTube. Go find us. We're all on social media. Go find us. And we'll all be back here in 2021 doing readings again, I'm certain, with Buddhist Biohacker.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great, great day. Have a great evening, night, morning, whatever.